Robert Spencer here for Jihad Watch, a program of the David Horowitz Freedom Center and for the Center for Security Policy, with the truth about the involvement of Saudi Arabia and the Islamic Republic of Iran in the September 11, 2001 jihad terror attack upon the United States. The 28-page section of the 9/11 report detailing Saudi involvement in 9/11 has finally been released, albeit with substantial portions still redacted, and it is now clear why one president who held hands with the Saudi king and another who bowed to him worked so hard all these years to keep these pages secret. They confirm that the 9/11 jihad murderers received significant help from people at the highest levels of the Saudi government. The report states that Omar al-Bayoumi, who may be a Saudi intelligence officer, gave substantial assistance to hijackers Khalid al-Mindhar and Nawaf al-Hamzi after they arrived in San Diego in February 2000. Al-Bayoumi met the hijackers at a public place shortly after his meeting with an individual at the Saudi consulate. Around the same time, Al-Bayoumi had extensive contact with Saudi government establishments in the U.S. and received financial support from a Saudi company affiliated with the Saudi Ministry of Defense. That company reportedly had ties to Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. Another possible Saudi agent, Osama Basnan, who has many ties to the Saudi government and was also a supporter of Osama bin Laden, boasted that he did more for al-Mindhar and al-Hamzi than al-Bayoumi did. He also reportedly received funding and possibly a fake passport from Saudi government officials. The report says that at one point, a member of the Saudi royal family provided Basnan with a significant amount of cash, and that he and his wife have received financial support from the Saudi ambassador to the U.S. and his wife. That ambassador was Prince Bandar, about whom the New York Times later noted, "No foreign diplomat has been closer or had more access to President Bush, his family, and his administration than the magnetic and fabulously wealthy Prince Bandar bin Sultan of Saudi Arabia." Then there was Sheikh al-Tumairi, an accredited diplomat at the Saudi consulate in Los Angeles and one of the imams at the King Fahd Mosque in Culver City, California, who may also have been in contact with al-Mindhar and al-Hamzi. Saleh al-Hussein, reportedly a Saudi Interior Ministry official, stayed at the same hotel in Herndon, Virginia, where al-Hamzi was staying. While al-Hussein claimed after 9/11 not to know the hijackers, FBI agents believed that he was being deceptive. He was able to depart the United States despite FBI efforts to locate and re-interview him. Now, who got him out of the country? And there's much more. The report redacts the name of another Saudi national with close ties to the Saudi royal family, but notes that he is the subject of FBI counterterrorism investigations and reportedly was checking security at the United States southwest border in 1999 and discussing the possibility of infiltrating individuals into the United States. Now, there's no telling who this could have been, but Prince Bandar's unlisted phone number turned up in a phone book of Abu Zubaydah, a senior al-Qaeda operative captured in Pakistan in March 2002. Abu Zubaydah also had the number of a bodyguard at the Saudi embassy in Washington. The report also mentions a CIA memorandum that discusses alleged financial connections between the September 11th hijackers, Saudi government officials, and members of the Saudi royal family. This memorandum was passed on to an FBI investigator, yet despite the clear national implications of the CIA memorandum, the FBI agent included the memorandum in an individual case file and did not forward it to FBI headquarters. Why not? And there's much more. With this much smoke, there is almost certainly fire. However, Saudi involvement in 9/11 was not the only subject of a cover-up. Iran's little-noted role in 9/11 has been covered up as well. As I detail in my new book, The Complete Infidel's Guide to Iran, on December 22, 2011, U.S. District Judge George B. Daniels ruled in Havlish et al. Versus bin Laden that Iran and Hezbollah were liable for damages to be paid to relatives of the victims of the 9/11 attacks in New York and Washington. Judge Daniels found that both the Islamic Republic of Iran and its Lebanese proxy Hezbollah had actively aided al-Qaeda in planning and executing the 9/11 attacks. He found that Iran and Hezbollah had cooperated and collaborated with al-Qaeda before 9/11 and continued to do so after the attacks. Before 9/11, Iran and Hezbollah were implicated in efforts to train al-Qaeda members to blow up large buildings. This training resulted in the bombing of the Khobar Towers in Saudi Arabia in 1996, the bombing of the U.S. embassies in Kenya and Tanzania in 1998, and the attack on the USS Cole in the year 2000. Shortly after the Cole attack, the 9/11 Jihad plot began to come together, and Iran was involved. Abu Hassem Mesbahi, a defector from Iran, testified that during the summer of 2001, he received messages from Iranian government officials regarding a plan for unconventional warfare against the United States. The plot was entitled Shaitan Dar Atash, Satan in Flames. Now, Satan in Flames was the Iranians' elaborate plot to hijack 3 passenger jets, each packed full of people, and crash them into American landmarks. The World Trade Center, which jihadis took to be the center of American commerce and the center of the American economy, the Pentagon, which of course was the center of Americans' military apparatus, and the White House. A classified National Security Agency analysis referred to in the 9/11 Commission report reveals that 8 to 10 of the 9/11 hijackers traveled to Iran repeatedly in late 2000 and early 2001. The 9/11 Commission called for a U.S. government investigation into Iran's role in 9/11, but none was ever undertaken. And so Kenneth R. Timmerman of the Foundation for Democracy in Iran was, in his words, engaged by the Havlish attorneys in 2004 to carry out the investigation the 9/11 Commission report called on the U.S. government to handle. Timmerman noted during the 9/11 hijackers' trips to Iran that they were accompanied by senior Hezbollah operatives who were in fact agents of the Iranian regime. Iranian border agents, when they traveled to Iran, did not stamp their passports, so that their having been inside the Islamic Republic would not arouse suspicion when they entered the United States. The CIA, embarrassed by its failure to recognize the import of these trips, tried to suppress this revelation. However, Kenneth Timmerman contends that even the available evidence is explosive enough. In his words, he reveals that the Islamic Republic of Iran helped design the 9/11 plot, provided intelligence support to identify and train the operatives who carried it out, allowed the future hijackers to evade U.S. and Pakistani surveillance on key trips to Afghanistan, during which they received the final order of mission from Osama bin Laden, by escorting them through Iranian borders without passport stamps, evacuated hundreds of top al-Qaeda operatives from Afghanistan to Iran after 9/11, just as U.S. forces launched their offensive, provided safe haven and continued financial support to al-Qaeda cadres for years after 9/11, allowed al-Qaeda to use Iran as an operational base for additional terror attacks, in particular the May 2003 bombings in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Now, the Ayatollah Khamenei, the supreme leader of Iran, he knew about the 9/11 plot. During the summer of 2001, he instructed Iranian agents to be careful to conceal their tracks. He told them to communicate only with al-Qaeda's second-in-command, Ayman al-Zawahiri, and Imad Mughniyeh of Hezbollah. Mughniyeh was Iran's key player in the 9/11 Satan in Flames plot. During the Havlish trial, former CIA agents Claire Lopez and Bruce Teft submitted an affidavit stating, Imad Mughniyeh, the most notable and notorious world terrorist of his time, an agent of Iran and a senior operative of Hezbollah, facilitated the international travel of certain 9/11 hijackers to and from Iran, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia, and Afghanistan, and perhaps various other locations for the purpose of executing the events of September 11, 2001. This support enabled 2 vital aspects of the September 11, 2001 plot to succeed. 1, the continued training of the hijackers in Afghanistan and Iran after securing the United States visas in Saudi Arabia, and 2, entry into the United States. The Obama-era CIA went into great pains to try to ensure that information about Iran's role in 9/11 did not come out in the Havlish case. In August 2010, a CIA official pressured a Havlish witness to withdraw his testimony in exchange for a new identity, new passport, and new job. In December of that year, another CIA operative approached a different Havlish witness, showed him documents stolen from the case, and took him to a U.S. embassy where he was subjected to 5 hours of interrogation. He was finally offered cash if he recanted his testimony. Timmerman says, after I reported these attempts at witness tampering to a congressional oversight committee, they ceased. Judge Daniels ultimately determined that Iran, Hezbollah, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the Iranian Ministry of Intelligence and Security, and other Iranian government departments, as well as the Ayatollah Khamenei himself and former Iranian President Ali Akbar Hashemi Rafsanjani, were all directly implicated in Iranian efforts to aid al-Qaeda in its 9/11 plot. Daniels awarded the plaintiffs in the Havlish case almost $400 million in economic damages, $94 million for pain and suffering, $874 million for mental anguish and grief, over $4 billion in punitive damages, and $968 million in prejudgment interest, for a total of over $7 billion. Now, of course, the Havlish plaintiffs are not going to get a check for that amount from the Islamic Republic of Iran, neatly signed by the Ayatollah Khamenei. Still, the judgment provided a small bit of solace for the loss of life and years of trauma these families have suffered as a result of the Islamic Republic of Iran's war against the United States. And most importantly, the judgment stands as an acknowledgement of Iran's role in 9/11. After 9/11, the U.S. declared war on terror and entered Afghanistan and Iraq. But if Bush had been really serious about attacking jihad terror at its root, he would have invaded Saudi Arabia and Iran instead. Under Obama, the denial and willful ignorance have only gotten exponentially worse. I'm Robert Spencer.